What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to 2024. Today I have a well-needed Yamaha Virago Cafe Racer update. It's been months since I've done an update, and honestly there isn't really too much that's gone on with it, but there's a couple new parts, new things, and updates that I need to talk about with the bike. If you're new to the channel, haven't seen any of the updates on the Virago, we are making a Yamaha Virago into a Cafe Racer. This is the current condition of the bike. It looks very taken apart, but it's not that bad. Stock front end is currently back on the bike. We did have a Suzuki Katana front end on it at some point, and we also had a Ninja front end that we were thinking about, and a Gixxer front end. That is one thing that we are still bouncing between. So I have 3 different front ends that I could possibly swap onto this bike. The Katana front end was too low and we couldn't really figure out how to make the brakes work. One of the biggest things about this bike is we are trying to get spoke wheels on the bike. If you guys are familiar with the Yamaha Viragos, well, they are shaft driven, and what that means is you need the correct hub for spoke wheels. There's only one Virago with the right hub. The hub is hard to find, but I have the parts, the wheels and the hub needed for the bike. If you guys recall back to last year, early last year, I bought a second Virago, and well, this bike has spoke wheels on it. It has the correct hub with the spokes and a brand new rear swing arm, all painted nicely. We've been debating back and forth whether we part that bike out and use it for this current build or what we do with it. Ultimately, we decided, yes, we're gonna just use that bike as pieces and parts and put the spokes on this one. The Ninja front end I was talking about is on this bike. This is a Ninja front end, and well, it has the bike pretty decently off the ground there. The problem with the Katana front end was it got way too low, and well, you couldn't fit the spokes. It's a whole bunch of like custom fabrication, adapting, and figuring out what fits where without an instruction guide, basically. People use the Yamaha R1 front end, buy the correct swap parts, and make it simple and easy for themselves, but all those pieces are expensive. So we're trying to figure out a way that we can mount the spokes with a new front end that's a little bit beefier, a little bit lower, and obviously a little bit better performing, and still riding with the spokes. So we're just bouncing back and forth, changing the front end here, modifying this, and we're gonna come to a conclusion hopefully sometime in the near future. And that leaves us back to the stock front end just for the time being. Coming back to the carburation, well, we figured out that this box was bad, and well, the carburetors didn't really have a problem. The single carb that we do have doesn't really work the best. We have a 2-into-1 swap, and it wasn't really ideal. Also, some new parts that we have here are the proper linkages. So this is connected to the rear brake. Obviously, the stock brake pedal would have been right here. Your foot would have been here, brake pedal here, but this moves it back because you're sitting a little bit further up and more into a tucked position. Coming to this side, we have the gears. Once again, the gear selector would have been right about here somewhere. Your foot would have been here, and this pushes it this far back. I did spend the money on those. They weren't cheap, but they looked the best, and it was the right part to use for that. I believe they were from Cognito Moto, not sponsored, but if you're interested in getting them, that's where I got them from. Now, the biggest update for this video is the tank. Obviously, stock tank, I mean, it looks all right, but we're doing the very common Benelli tank. We got the tank painted yellow. It has like the quick release here. I have no idea what this is for. This is not a real Benelli tank, but it's a knockoff remanufactured version of it. Overall, quality is decent, but it is not a direct fit, even though it says it was a direct fit, obviously. It's not gonna be. So slightly unsatisfied with that because this kind of rear setup here, it doesn't work for the Virago. The pieces are too far apart from each other and mounting to the front. It fits on it, but it doesn't really mount properly. We'll definitely find a workaround, but we had to do a little bit of cutting to get it to fit around here. So it is definitely not plug and play, and it is not a direct fit. We got the job done, and it will get on in sometime near future. You guys clearly can see the color of the tank, but we're probably gonna do like the Yamaha Racing stripes down the side of it and maybe on the top of it as well with vinyl. That's kind of the goal. That's why it's yellow. Yamaha Racing, obviously yellow. They have like film reel or movie reel kind of livery to them, or at least that's what I see. I don't know if people call it that, but that's what I see when I see it. Now, just to give you guys a little bit of an idea on what the bike is gonna look like. If you squint your eyes just a little bit, if I take the camera and just kind of unfocus it, you can kind of see the outline of what the bike is gonna look like. I think that's gonna look awesome. Also, something I'm not sure if I covered in the last update were the clip-ons. We have the clip-ons mounted, but we're trying to figure out whether they go under or on top, or what the case is, what angle we want them at, but these are made of billet aluminum, so it's a good quality, and well, we'll see exactly how this gets done. Center stand has been removed, side stand is still there. It's probably gonna need to be chopped down a little bit when we put the new front end on. Once the rough draft is done, which hopefully we'll get a good amount of progress on in the month, the bike is gonna be completely stripped, completely fresh painted, powder coated, sandblasted, everything. And then everything's gonna get put back together. One thing we need to do is all the wiring. When the front end is going to be changed, there's all of these wires, and I'm not sure if there's a kit or a new harness that we can get, or if we have to make a custom harness with all the relays and everything, because I think we can delete most of these, if not all of these. Otherwise, we're going to tuck them in a little box kind of right here. We also have to find a place for the battery, which again will be somewhere down here most likely. One of the biggest things was getting this bike running. It was very temperamental. In the last video, I think I gave you guys like a little bit of a rundown on what was happening with the misfiring. The CDI box was one of the bigger reasons. Once we switched the box from the other Virago we have to this one began running nicely, but it was still acting a little funny from the last time I remember we did anything with it. It's been a while since we've touched the bike, I won't lie, but slowly we've been piecing, parting, and getting everything we need. And hopefully in the sometime near future, it can get off the table, but we'll see, I guess. Once we get the front end touched up a little bit and get it in its rough draft form kind of complete, we'll probably put it on the side for just a little bit, tackle some of the easier projects we have, so there'll be some videos going out on some of those, and then once we're ready, we'll take it all apart, and in the meantime, while it's being parked on the side, we're probably gonna get a couple more pieces and a couple more bits that we might need. There are 3 Viragos that we own. The one was the parts, this one we've owned for forever, and then a third one popped up that, well, it was another kind of intended to be parts bike, but it's complete, so might just leave it as is or chop it up and do something else with it. It might not look like it's gotten anywhere, but all the minor little things start to add up. I wish I could make these videos more consistently, but it's not like I'm working on this bike or we are working on this bike every day or every week. We take large gaps in between. With 2024 here, my big goal for this year is to reveal all the bikes in the collection. We did just buy a new bike yesterday, and that will be the next video. So stay tuned for that and check out some of the collection if you guys haven't already.